right for the unborn. Lawmakers release a new report on the economic costs of abortion. We're on Capitol Hill. Bloodshed in Nigeria. 2 more churches, one of them Catholic, are attacked over the weekend. Focus on France. Why Sunday's parliamentary elections were bad news for President Emmanuel Macron. And power of the Eucharist. Learn more about a movie describing how Holy Communion can change lives. On EWTN News Nightly for Monday, June 20th, 2022. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. I'm Tracy Sable. Around 2,000 Catholic families are gathering in Rome this week to meet Pope Francis and hear talks on marriage and the faith. It is all part of the World Meeting of Families. At a Sunday address to pilgrims at the Vatican, the Holy Father thanked married couples and others who will bear witness to family love as a vocation and a way to holiness. Created in 1994 by St. John Paul II, the 10th edition of the World Meeting of Families starts Wednesday in Rome. Joining us now from Rome is Andreas Thonhauser, EWTN Vatican Bureau Chief. Andreas, great to see you. Tell us a little bit more about this meeting this week.
Yes, Tracy. Here in Rome, everyone is getting ready for this very important event because this Wednesday, the 10th World Meeting of Families will officially begin. We had to wait for 4 years since the last one took place in Dublin, Ireland. And EWTN is the official media partner of this event. We'll broadcast live starting tomorrow in 3 languages and will feature interviews with great guests speaking about family and faith. And actually, I'm standing right here now on the podium that we'll use for our live streaming. Our affiliates around the globe will broadcast in more than 12 languages, taking our content from this event. And there's been a lot of anticipation on the World Meeting of Families, as it is such an important topic for the Church. And as you know, Tracy, family, its definition and role within society, is also a much fought over topic as well. So the world will listen closely, very closely, how the Church will celebrate this week the nucleus of our society, as Pope Francis called it. Unfortunately, the organizers of the meeting had to cap the amount of participants, as it had been postponed once already because of COVID-19. And Pope Francis will welcome the approximately 2,000 delegates sent by the home dioceses, international movements, and family associations. All in all, there will be 170 delegations coming from more than 120 countries.
Andreas, I'm curious, what will the program look like this week?
Well, Tracy, the World Meeting of Families will be open with a Festival of Families at the Pauline Center Hall this Wednesday. The hall is just right there behind me, behind the colonnade of St. Peter's Square. There will be a big celebration welcoming the participants. From Thursday to Saturday, there will be a congress taking place in the same hall. And there's speakers and testimonials from all over the globe sharing their wisdom and experience with faith and the family. And EWTN will be covering the whole Congress and in addition interview a few of the speakers to grant an in-depth experience to our audience. On Saturday afternoon, there will be Mass at the Vatican. The Holy Father is scheduled to preside over the liturgy, and the family delegations will be sent off on Sunday with a papal blessing after the traditional Angelus prayer in St. Peter's Square. So you see, Tracy, a full program indeed.
And Andreas, can you talk to us about the topics at the conference and the speeches? What will they focus on?
Well, I have to say, Tracy, the topics we'll hear about here are very concrete and deal with real-life challenges of families today. 3 examples I would like to mention are, first of all, the preparation of couples for married life, the special vocation of families as a path to holiness, and raising children and a better inclusion of the elderly. These themes will be discussed in form of talks and testimonies. Delegate families will have the opportunity for questions and conversations with each other. And the network aspect is also very, very important. For many Catholic families, it's vital to meet and be with other families who share the same experience. And Tracy, to end with, just recently, the Holy Father addressed Catholic family organizations in Europe, affirming that the family founded on marriage is crucial. Pope Francis told the group, and I quote, "The mutual love between man and woman is a reflection of the absolute and unfailing love with which God loves the human being, destined to be fruitful. We're looking forward to hear more about faith in the family here in Rome, as well as inspiring testimonies from families around the world.
Andreas, thank you so much for that report today. We appreciate it. Andreas Thonhauser, EWTN Vatican Bureau Chief. Thank you again. In 2019, there were nearly 630,000 abortions in the United States, costing roughly $6.9 trillion. That is according to a new report released by Republicans on the Joint Economic Committee. Capitol Hill correspondent Erik Rosales joins us now with more on that report. Erik?
Well, good evening, Tracy. You know, the committee released the report after Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen claimed that restricting abortion would harm the economy. Well, GOP lawmakers say that they have a report that shows quite the opposite, that abortions do harm the economy, not to mention the emotional strain it puts on everyone involved.
I believe that eliminating the right of women to make decisions about when and whether to have children would have very damaging effects on the economy and would set women back decades.
U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen testified that eliminating women's access to abortions would keep some from completing their education and reduce their lifetime earnings potential. But a GOP report titled "The Economic Cost of Abortion" found, quote, the economy lost $6.9 trillion in 2019 as a result of killing unborn babies. That's, quote, 425 times larger than the lost earnings new mothers would have received. Secretary Yellen's comments drew criticism from Republican Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina, who was raised by a single mother.
I think people can disagree on the issue of being pro-life or pro-abortion, but in the end, I think framing it in the context of labor force participation it just feels calloused to me.
Meanwhile, the U.S. Supreme Court will soon release a ruling that could overturn Roe v. Wade. Currently, President Biden is weighing executive actions to help women in Republican-controlled states to get an abortion. Republican Senator Marco Rubio plans to introduce a bill to block that emergency order. Quote, the real emergency in this country is that thousands of unborn Americans are killed every day. I will do everything I can to protect life and block this outrageous presidential power grab. EWTN News Nightly has also learned that the Biden administration may actually order the Department of Justice to litigate against states that attempt to outlaw abortion tourism. We've also learned that any sort of conservative governors are actually going to bring litigation back against the Biden administration if, in fact, this happens. Reporting from the Capitol, Erik Rosales, EWTN News Nightly.
President Joe Biden is speaking out today, saying that there is nothing inevitable about recession. He stopped to talk to reporters on a beach in Delaware. His comments come just days after the Fed raised interest rates to try and tamp down inflation. White House correspondent Owen Jensen reports. Owen?
Tracy, good evening to you. President Joe Biden is scheduled to return here to the White House later tonight. But earlier, a reporter told the president economists are saying a recession is even more likely than ever, to which the president had this reply.
Not the majority of them are saying that. Come on, don't make things up, okay? Now you sound like a Republican politician. A joke. That was a joke. But all kidding aside, no, I don't think it is.
The president also told reporters he's trying to do things like get the price of insulin down and wants to increase taxes on those corporations and people who benefited from former President Donald Trump's tax cut, which he called inflationary, saying people going out and buying a yacht does not help the economy a whole lot. And while on the beach, the president also said his team will be sitting down with the CEOs of major oil companies later this week, who he ripped for making billions of dollars in profits. On Twitter, the GOP blasted the president, saying, quote, and I'll read it for you, Joe Biden and Democrats have brought crisis after crisis, and the American people are paying the price. Biden failed. At the White House, Owen Jensen, EWTN News Nightly.
And joining us now is Jon Schweppe, Policy Director for the American Principles Project. Jon, welcome back. Always great to be with you. A lot to get to today. But first off, I want to get your thoughts on the president's comments on inflation. And what do you think will come from President Biden's team meeting with the oil companies?
Well, I think you see them gearing up for the midterm elections, and obviously they realize their policies are tremendously unpopular. I think they're trying to scapegoat oil companies for the anti-oil policies of this administration that have caused $5, $6 a gallon gasoline. But right now it's a little too late, I think. For Biden to be out there saying there's no recession coming. Tell that to the folks who are really struggling to buy groceries right now because they've seen the price of meat double, right? And all of these different things. So I think they're kind of behind the eight ball on this, and it's going to hurt them pretty bad.
Yeah, I want to switch gears now. FINA, the world's swimming's governing body, has effectively banned all biological males who identify as transgender women from competing in women's swimming. Your thoughts on that decision?
Yeah, well, right away, I mean, we talked a lot about Leah Thomas and Leah Thomas competing in the NCAA and winning that championship. This would obviously impact that. Leah Thomas not swimming professionally as a woman. But look, there's a lot still to do on this. While this is good, they're kind of opening the door for kids to go through these sex changes and then be able to compete if they do it before the age of 12. That's obviously crazy as well. So I think there's a lot to do on this. But, we do have to see this as a victory. The left is recognizing how vulnerable they are on this issue, and they're starting to correct.
Yeah, and speaking of transgender issues, John, I know that your group, the American Principles Project, released a statement condemning President Biden's executive order that, quote, advances LGBTQI plus equality, that is. What more can you tell us about that?
Well, look, the Biden administration is the most radical administration on transgender issues that's ever existed. They're going to continue to come out pretty aggressively on this stuff. They've actually been advocating for sex change surgeries for kids, which is wild. We ran ads in 2020 saying they would do this, and Facebook actually removed them saying we were lying. And turns out we were absolutely correct. But this is just more par for the course, and I think it's really important that Republicans speak out against this. And then in the states, we have to pass laws against, especially this the sex change procedures for kids. That's life altering. Can often lock these kids in, and it's really awful stuff.
Yeah, something else I want to talk about. We don't have a whole lot of time left, but I want to get this in. Democratic lawmakers wrote a letter to Google asking that platform to direct women to abortion clinics instead of pregnancy crisis centers. Your reaction to that?
Well, this is actually pretty typical. Democrats love to ask the big tech companies to censor on their behalf. That's what they'd be doing here. Would be suppressing search results for crisis pregnancy centers. And we're going to see more of that. Obviously, we've seen it with relation to the elections in the past. They want to make sure that crisis pregnancy centers aren't reachable. But I think we'll be able to push back against that. Republicans need to make crisis pregnancy centers a really pivotal part of what happens after Dobbs in terms of what we're promoting and trying to get to these women and help them through a very difficult time.
Yeah, and John, we're going to leave it right there. Thank you so much for your time, and always great to get your analysis.
Thanks so much.
Coming up, a security expert weighs in on how to best protect churches and faith-based organizations. As we reported, there has been a steady rise in attacks on pro-life organizations and Catholic churches in the U.S. Smashed windows, broken statues, and stolen tabernacles have become commonplace, with nearly 150 Catholic churches being attacked since 2020. And joining us now to discuss is Carl Chinn, president of the Faith-Based Security Network. Carl, welcome back. Great to see you again. You and I, well, we've talked about this before, but unfortunately, it's something that's not going away. Can you talk? No, it's not. No, it's not. And can you talk more about this increase in attacks on churches? And what do you think is driving it, Carl?
Well, Tracy, it's still, I don't think it's changed a lot as far as what's driving it from the last time we talked. It's just that we're seeing an increase in it here recently. And like I said last time, I believe what's driving this increase in attacks at churches, both violent attacks as well as terrorism and vandalism, and all scales of it are increasing. And I sincerely believe it's because of an erosion of moral values in our country.
What do you think can be done to deter these attacks, if anything? And also, what about strategies? What strategies could churches put in place to protect themselves?
Well, the number one strategy that they need to be doing is putting together an intentional program, having people, and I'm not talking about the whole congregation being ready for some kind of an attack. I'm talking about having a select few, those with protection in their DNA, who are going about an intentional program. They're watching who's entering and how they're acting, and they're trained. We have something we like to say at the FBSN. It's 3 words: ready, willing, and able. Ready means you're there, you're present, you're showed up, you're there, ready. Willing means you've been through the mental preparation to do what's needed to be done to protect people in your congregation. Able means you've been through the training and you have the equipment and you're able to do what you're there to do.
Yeah, and you know,
that's
Carl,
the strategy.
Yeah, and you know, it seems this problem, Carl, is being amplified, you know, as we await the Supreme Court decision that will likely overturn Roe versus Wade. What are you hearing from faith leaders, and are any of the churches that you work with, are they maybe implementing more security measures during this time?
They are. They're not only implementing more security measures, they're reaching out more to the pregnancy centers and those people in their communities who are continually under attack. And when I say continually, it varies with region, but we have definitely seen an uptick in the attacks on anybody who has the audacity to stand for this overturn of Roe v. Wade. And as we talked last time, Tracy, that's a battle line that's been drawn. And those who are pro-abortion are angry, and they are lashing out.
They most certainly are. And I know this pro-abortion group, there's one in particular that's calling for a night of rage on the day that Dobbs, that decision is released. I want to ask you this, Carl. How do you think these pro-life pregnancy centers should be preparing for this?
I believe they should be doing the same thing that churches have started doing, starting about 20 years ago, or even longer than that for some. But what they're doing is they're looking internally at who do we have internally here, who's some of our volunteers who serve us frequently, who do have protection in their DNA. I heard a story of a pregnancy center just today. I got this on my email about a pregnancy center that their response to this was to reach out to a security company. And of course, they got sticker shock. It's $7,000 a month to bring in security. And what we try to tell people, churches, you don't have to hire security. You can train up some of the people in your own circle. Churches and faith-based organizations, and this certainly includes pregnancy centers, operate based on giving, on volunteer work, on funding from donations. We are a volunteer-supported organization. And within your network, you've got people who have protection in their DNA, and they would step out to serve you.
Yeah, Carl, so much more we can talk about. Unfortunately, we're out of time, but thank you for your time, and thank you for what you do. God bless you.
Thank you for what you do, Tracy.
In Nigeria, 2 more churches were attacked during services yesterday. Gunmen stormed both a Catholic and Baptist church in the country's Kaduna state, killing at least 3 people. More than 24 others were kidnapped. The attacks come just 2 weeks after around 40 people were killed during Sunday Mass at a Catholic church in Nigeria's Ondo state. Well, a court in Japan has upheld a ban on same-sex marriage. The justices ruled that the ban does not violate the Constitution. They also rejected claims of compensation from 3 couples. Well, voters in France strengthened the far right and far left in parliamentary elections over the weekend, hailing what she called a historic victory. Marine Le Pen and her far right party won 89 seats. The far left coalition won more than 130. The numbers mean President Emmanuel Macron's alliance fell short of claiming an absolute majority. Up next, Pope Francis reminds the faithful of the power of the Eucharist. Pope Francis says the Eucharist must move Christians to action.
In realtà, il Signore prende a cuore tutti I nostri bisogni.
At a Sunday talk to pilgrims at the Vatican, the Holy Father said Christ wants to feed every part of our life. On the solemnity of Corpus Christi, Pope Francis also said that we should be Christ-like in our actions towards others, and he reminded the faithful that God will provide for our needs. And finally tonight, one documentary is highlighting the transformative power of the Holy Eucharist. Alive, produced by Spanish filmmakers, shows how the real presence of Christ in the Eucharist touched 5 people's lives. And joining me now to discuss is Sister Nancy Usselmann, Director of the Pauline Center for Media Studies. Sister Nancy, thank you so much for coming on today. We appreciate it. For those who may not be familiar, that is, with this documentary, can you tell us a little bit more about it and the types of stories and experiences the people in this film share?
Sure. It's a beautiful documentary, really about how people going on in their everyday lives, in their everyday experiences, have this really powerful and changing experience in their lives by either someone bringing them to experience Jesus truly present in the Eucharist, or that they ended up in the church for some, being drawn in literally like a magnet, and experiencing Christ truly present in the Eucharist. And their stories are all so unique and so interesting, and yet it makes it so relatable for all of us. We can all relate to this, that the attraction that we have to Christ, the person of Jesus Christ, truly present in the Blessed Sacrament.
Yeah, for sure. And we initially actually talked about this film when it first aired back in April, and now there's going to be an encore showing tomorrow here in the U.S. What do you think that says about this film and the power of the Holy Eucharist?
Well, it means it's attracting people, which is amazing and quite awesome. But it's also, I think it says something about the need, even for the Eucharistic revival here in the United States, that there's something more that we are yearning for as human beings. And sometimes we can't quite put our finger on it. What is it? What's drawing us? What's calling to us in the deepest of our being? And it's really Jesus. And it's Jesus there in the Eucharist saying, come to me, all of you. Come and share all that you have in your mind, your heart, and your will. And I want to refresh you. And I think it's amazing that this need for a second showing has come to the United States. I think it's showing that people want this. People want to hear this message.
Yeah, they really, really do. And I also understand that you're actually part of the bonus content the
Yes.
audiences will see during tomorrow's showing of that film. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. So people have to stay till after the credits to see this part, but it's in English because the film is in Spanish, because it was created by Spanish filmmakers. After the credits, there's another 20 to 30 minutes in English about how some of us have given our own testimonies about how Christ's present in the Eucharist has transformed our own lives, or how he makes himself present to us every time we experience him in the Eucharist, and how we can continue and grow to live a Eucharistic-centered life. So that's my part in it. I'm able to share a little bit of my testimony, my love for Jesus present in the Eucharist, and my relationship with him in the Eucharist, and how others can touch that light, that hope, that Jesus, who is really way, truth, and life for us in the Eucharist.
Yeah, and I know people cannot wait to see that. And speaking of that, how can people get tickets to see this encore presentation?
Sure, it's a Fathom event, so you can get it through fathomevents.com, and you can look for Alive, who is there. That's the name of the movie, and it will have on there, you can select and to search where in your area is it showing? And it's showing in most theaters, so you definitely probably could see it tomorrow evening. So go to fathomevents.com.
Okay. Thank you so much, sister. We appreciate it, and God bless you.
God bless you too. Thank you so much.
And we thank you for watching tonight. For the entire EWTN News Nightly team, I'm Tracy Sable. Good night and God bless.